Hello Libra, welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Libra is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider hitting the subscribe button, especially if this reading resonates with you. These readings are totally free. If there is anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Libra, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you and the Lover's card, right? You're somebody with an inspiration. There's something in your life that is making you want to say, heck yes, I'm in. You know, I think that we're marrying ourselves to something, an idea, to a purpose. Maybe we're going through that alchemical wedding, right? That we're marrying ourselves to our true self, to our own God, goddess, deity, right? This could be a spiritual union. It could be, it could be a romantic partnership, could be a literal marriage. It could be that we are uniting ourselves to our path, our purpose, kind of saying from this day forward in sickness and in health, this is me, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm devoting myself to, okay? And I think that you're somebody who is not going to make that kind of almost a lifelong commitment unless it really feels right. Unless it is this kind of spiritual marriage. Okay, let's put this card into a little bit of context and see what is going on around that. We have a 10 of Swords, and I think the 10 of Swords in this case is a very good card. Okay, this is the Sun in Gemini. That we're realizing what is beyond the limiting walls of our own beliefs, that we're marrying ourselves to something that's taking, let's say it's the ego marrying itself to the higher self. Right? Marrying the little self and the big S self. Marrying those two together, right? Is giving the ego a glimpse of what is really out there, right? Because the 10 of Swords is the birdcage. We're getting beyond the birdcage. We are spreading our angelic wings. And I think that we're realizing that there is so much more potential out there for us, right? That the ego is realizing that, wow, you know, this little ego, this little thin wafer of ego on top of this phosphorescent sea, right, is very limited. There's a whole iceberg underneath us, and there's a whole infinite realm of heaven up above us. And the ego just gets this little tiny, this little tiny raft on the water there. So the 10 of Swords to me is breaking through a lot of narrow beliefs, limiting perspectives, kind of seeing that there's a whole world out there. There's a whole infinite universe now as our sort of playground, right? When we come into contact with the true self, higher self, God, goddess, deity, whatever you want to call it, right? Let's keep going. I could talk all day just about these two. We have a Princess of Cups. You've got a 10 of Cups. You have the Devil card up above you. And you have a 6 of Wands. 6 of Wands to me feels like it is a team effort. It is a successful team, a group effort, right? It's the team of, team of one maybe, but team of two, right? Big S self, little s self, right? So the team here, the victory here is that when the ego is united with that sense of purpose, with that divine energy inside of us, we are unstoppable. There is no mountain too tall for us to climb, okay? And that's kind of a reference to our devil energy over here. We have the Hanged Man. We have a Princess of Pentacles, and that's very interesting too, because the Princess of Pentacles, for the one thing, it kind of represents our sort of human self, our human existence, our kind of, our baseline reality, right? And what this Princess of Pentacles can do is transform into the Empress, right? When it comes into contact with the higher self, then all of the potential kind of comes out of us, this unlimited potential that we are, right? So this kind of becomes like, in a way, it becomes the human ego or the human life kind of, before the wedding, right? Before the partnership, before the commitment, before the inspiration or the contact with the higher self. This is kind of the way that the ego is sort of walking around through life, Let's see if we get the Empress. We have a couple more cards here. We have the Lust or Strength card, and, we've got the Magician. That's even better. Because the Magician is, it's really our ability to cause change and conformity with the will. It is the ego now being put into alignment with the higher self, and we're becoming a pure channel, a clear conduit for the divine energy in our life that we're receiving it from above, and we are transmitting it out to the world through our magic, right? That's magic. And the Magician is Mercury, Hermes, the messenger of the god, of the gods, the one who transmits. Okay, so I think something is flowing through you. And it's a sense of purpose. It's a divine energy. It's your gift to the world. It's the magic that you are transmitting out to the so-called external world, right? You have a really, really nice set of cards here. We're going to do a mystery card, a confirmation card, a bonus card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the Factor Infinite and Unknown. We're going to set it down right here with Dwight K. Schrute right on top. And we're not going to look at that card until the very end, but it will tie everything together and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. Okay. If you have a prediction for that card, put it in the comments. Okay. At any time during the reading. Let's look around the room. Major, 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 major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 majors. We've got fire. We've got water. We got a little bit of air. We got a little bit of water here too. We got a little bit of air, and we got a little bit of earth. Okay. So it's fairly balanced, right? It's fairly balanced. I think there's a little excess on the water, but that's okay, because to me, the water that we have, even with the Hanged Man and the Princess of Cups, is kind of like the ego surrendering its own objectives. The ego is realizing that it is. It's kind of taking a secondary role. The ego takes a subordinate role to the true self, the higher self, or God, goddess, deity, whatever you want to call it. In a way, the ego is the pilot of the ship, right? The one whose hands are on the wheel, making the literal moves, but the captain, right, is the higher self, or God, goddess, deity, however you want to phrase it, whatever terminology we want to use. The ego is taking orders from something else. And that's how that's where we're getting the decisions to move left or move right, slow down, speed up, that sort of thing. The Ten of Swords is, to me, that kind of a breakthrough. That the ego is kind of realizing that everything that is not connected with the true self right now seems pointless. So I think that we're things that have interested you before don't any longer. Things that seemed very important and very factual and very objective and very, let's say, permanent may seem a little bit pointless now, When the ego is in awe of the divine energy, a lot of the things sort of fall away. A lot of the other concerns, a lot of the worries, the bars of the cage that the ego is in just sort of fall away. And it doesn't necessarily mean ego inflation, but that can be part of it. That's a risk that we're going to have to take, right? And that's part of it's part of our Six of Wands, but also part of our Lust card here in the obstacle position. Because when the bars fall away, the ego realizes, wow, there's so much more out there for me. That life doesn't have limitations, that there are no restrictions when we're in touch with that divine energy, when we're sort of married to that purpose, And maybe this is a spiritual or religious thing for you. Maybe this is really just your recognition that your inspiration and commitment to this, maybe this is saying, I know what I want to do with my life. I'm marrying myself to this work this path, this career, this vocation. I'm marrying myself to this person, this place, or this thing. Whatever it is for you, you're realizing that your union here is breaking down obstacles, breaking through the ceiling here, that it's breaking through the bars of our cage. We realize that so much more is possible in life when we have this commitment, when we are united or married to this thing or this person or this energy. Okay? And I think it's an energy. Regardless of what it is physically or technically, it's an energy. Okay? When we are embracing that sense of inspiration that makes us want to commit to the literal thing, it's that energy of commitment. It's that energy of needing the union, of wanting the union more than anything else. See, the Lover's card is a choice. That we feel so inspired by something, we're making the choice to commit to it. It's that simple, right? But having that feeling, which is almost overwhelming to the ego, that's the energy that's going to take us far beyond what we thought we could accomplish without that. Okay? So I think behind everything, we've got our 10 of Cups. This is that kind of overwhelming feeling of this is the only thing I truly need. It's this energy that fills me up and gives me a sense of purpose. This is a feeling of meaning, of satisfaction. It's kind of like I don't have to search for my true love anymore because I have found it. Right? So I'm no longer on that pursuit of happiness. I have found the energy or the path or the purpose of my life, and I'm committing myself to it, and we're blasting off. We're getting through the bars of that bird cage. Okay? And what it's going to help us do is activate our devil energy, which is going to give us the ability to keep climbing the mountain even when things get difficult. Just because we have found our true love and we're committing ourselves to it, whether it's a person, a place, or a thing, an idea, it doesn't matter. You can put the goat in front of any mountain and it will climb the mountain. But eventually, it's going to get tired, it's going to get lazy, it's going to get hungry, it doesn't really care. It has no reason to go all the way up to the top of the mountain. It has no reason to keep climbing. I'm hungry, right? Guess what? Your horse is going to stop moving. Your horse is tired. Guess what? You can push, but the horse, it's not going to budge. Horses are heavy, right? Goats, maybe not so much, but the idea here is that we can pursue much loftier heights when we have a purpose in what we're doing. If our heart's not in it, if we don't have that 1,000% heck yes, I'm in kind of feeling for it, we'll climb a little ways up, but then something else will override that. Some other need or desire will say, yeah, this was fun, but you know what, fellas? I got to go eat some lunch. So I'll see you later. The goat kind of will wander off. Oh, there's a little patch of flowers. I'm going to go roll around in the field for a while. So we have to make sure that we're sort of putting our goat on the right mountain, It's what Joseph Campbell said about the ladder. We could spend our lives climbing up a ladder only to realize we put our ladder against the wrong building. Oops. And so eventually we'll either get to the top of the ladder and think, I don't like it here. Or we'll sort of halfway through we'll be like, I don't care about this particular ladder anymore. I want to do something else. But see, I think that we're able to go further and higher to, again, such loftier heights when we are not being limited, when there is nothing else that the ego could possibly want beyond this. Right? This is fulfillment of the highest kind. Right? Every cup is filled here. And the Ten of Swords, it is a card of ruin. It is a card of kind of life being pointless. It is kind of like things falling. It's the end of a delusion. And I think really it's the end of that ego consciousness where the ego is perceiving the glory of the sun, right? Sun in Gemini, where we're really getting that intense illumination about what our life is supposed to be, what we're here for, why we're here, who we are, what we're made of. And it's dispelling a lot of illusions that we've had about life. And it's a lot of other things are falling away from us as being pointless. And I love the Ten of Swords because all of the swords their tips are broken off. So these swords are literally pointless, right? And this is kind of us realizing the futility of something and saying, I don't care about any of that anymore. All that was nonsense. All that was pointless. This is what I love. This is me. This is who I am. This is what I'm marrying myself to, you know? And so we're able to, in a way, sublimate some of our other desires. We have the Princess of Cups underneath us. And this is kind of like we have these emotions, we have these attractions and aversions, we have desires, and they influence our behavior. This is the goat saying, I'm hungry, food. I'm tired, lay down. This is saying, ooh, that's kind of a thorny patch of bushes there. I'm gonna walk the other way. This is the card that motivates us on a very instinctual level to, if it feels good, do more of it. If it feels bad, stop doing it. You know, it's that kind of instinct that we all have, that kind of programming, right? And this is our ability to kind of use that and say, yeah, you know what? I'm climbing up this mountain even when I am hungry, even when I do have to sort of drag myself through the briar patch. You know, the goats, we're gonna be picking thorns out of the goat, you know, for a while here, but that's part of the work. And of course, with the Lover's card here, if this is a marriage of any kind, it's in sickness and in health, right? Richer for poor, in good times and in bad. Yeah. So we're not being driven by these kind of base emotions, by these just, you know, kind of very rudimentary reactions to life. You know, feels good, do it. Feels bad, don't do it. Simple, right? Simple operating program. It's very binary, right? Very ones and zeros. So we're kind of we're able to get a little bit of control over this, because this is really how the ego likes to live life anyway. You know, normally speaking, the ego is just like, yeah, well, if it feels good, I'm going to do it. If it doesn't feel good, well, I'm not going to do it. It's simple, right? The ego is not very complex. It's in the middle. It's tied up in a lot of complex. It's the ego sits in the center of a very complex web. Okay, of subconscious things, unconscious things, thoughts, feelings, and then of course that sunshine up above. You know, the needs of the body, that sort of thing. But then that sunshine up above, that's kind of like when we're mesmerized by that solar light, that divine energy, everything else sort of falls away. I don't care about lunch. You know, it's like we're staring up at the sky and we forget to eat. You know, and that is kind of, that's connecting us over here again with our lust or strength card, that we still have to form an alliance with the ego. Okay, now we're kind of looking at things from the perspective of our magician, our sort of true self in alignment with the ego. The ego is serving its role nicely, but our consciousness is operating from a sort of more enlightened vantage point, okay? This is the card of the alliance, right? This is a Jupiter in Leo. It's kind of saying that we can accomplish more when we bring the ego into alliance with the true self. Not shunning the ego, not this weird notion of like eradicating or rooting out the ego or killing the ego. You try to kill the ego, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to revive it, you know. So let's not go that route. This is an alliance. This is saying we can accomplish more through a magnanimous, mutually beneficial, win-win partnership, right, than we can if we're enemies. Than we can if the true self and the ego are just exact opposites and they're fighting against each other, and the higher self is going to win every time. But the ego is always going to have that kind of like, oh, I'll get you next time. You know, it's like a spy versus spy kind of episode. You remember that cartoon? I think it was a comic first, Mad Magazine. Showing my age here a little bit. We bring the ego into, I don't like the word subjugation, but I think alliance is a better word, right? In an alliance with the true self. And, you know, the Jupiter in Leo energy is literally saying that we can accomplish more as a team when we work together than if we were to do our own separate things and maybe have some overlapping agendas, but most of the time will be at kind of cross purposes, right? So I like this card. The way forward for you is through this alliance with your higher self and ego. And that means that Yeah, when you're hungry, you got to eat. When you're thirsty, you got to drink water. You got to lay down and give yourself enough rest. And that's going, but at the same time, you've got to keep climbing up that mountain. Okay? You have to keep doing the work to which you have married yourself. Okay? Whatever this purpose is that you have discovered, whatever the meaning of your life is become, or whatever path is giving your life meaning. Okay, because if we're not walking on that path, then we're not really living that meaning, are we? Right. So we do have to give the ego some rewards. The ego needs to taste a little bit of that sweetness. You know, we don't want to give the ego too much pain and hardship. We want to discipline the ego so that it can handle more challenges. Right? If we strengthen our ego, then it's kind of like, well, I can go a little bit longer without lunch. You know, I can work a couple extra hours doing my thing, or the ego won't be so soft and pliable that it's easily distracted by pleasure and pain. Okay? So, you know, we treat the ego kindly, but we also discipline the ego so it can be very strong. Yeah. And we can have the willpower to to push ourselves in the direction that our own divinity is urging us. Okay. Now, Path of the Serpent. Let's talk about these cards. And please hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. All right. These readings are free. It really does help out the channel, and I appreciate that. The Hanged Man, to me, sometimes the ego feels like, why am I being punished? Right, the Hanged Man very often is a card of this involuntary suffering, right? That the ego is just saying, woe is me, life has happened to me and I don't like it, right? A lot of the time, the ego feels this way when it is at cross purposes with the true self, at cross purposes with the divinity within you, with your own soul, spirit, God, goddess, deity, guardian angel, right? The will of the self, yeah. And the ego will feel like, gosh, no matter what I do, the universe keeps giving me bad things, and I keep getting hurt, or I feel like I'm being punished by something, right? And I think this is really the result of a misalignment. When we're not aligned with our true self, we'll know, we'll feel it, okay? It doesn't mean the universe is out to get you. It means that the ego is out of alignment. Not that spirit's out of alignment, not that the universe is out of alignment, but the ego's out of alignment with the true self. Okay. Now, on the other hand, this card is also talking about the ego kind of surrendering to the will of the true self, right? Holding the hand of divinity. I wish we had the High Priestess here so I can show you, although I got to say, last time I put those two cards together, I got an age restriction on my video here on YouTube because well, they're not really wearing any clothes. But it's art and whatever. So anyway, the Hanged Man is the ego then acquiescing to the will of the self and realizing that I'll have a smoother go of things if I stop trying to swim upstream, if I stop trying to go at cross purposes with the water, with the flow of my divine energy. If the ego can harmonize with that and go forward with that, it's going to be like we're sailing down the river. Okay, rather than being at cross purposes, going against the current, that sort of thing. Now, going down the river, flowing down the river of that divine path, there's still going to be hardship. There's still going to be struggles. There's still going to be, we might fall off the boat sometimes. We might hit a rock. We're going to do our best to steer clear of obstacles, but we'll still have a little bit of pain, some suffering, some bad days. Okay? But even in those bad days, there's going to be a comfort, a unity, a bliss, really, because there's that sense of purpose behind it. I'd rather encounter obstacles on my true path than encounter obstacles and encounter obstructions and feel like there's no reason for it. That I'm just being punished by the universe. So it's a different orientation of the ego. Okay, and it's all present inside the Hanged Man energy. In your environment, you have your Princess of Pentacles, which is a potential. Okay, it's the world that we could create. Okay, it's the raw material upon which the magician is is influencing and projecting and transmitting the will, the divine energy, right? And so this could be the relationship. This could be the potential for, well, if this is like a career path, it's like, well, there's a lot of potential there. And I think that you're kind of just about to, to give birth to this, this wonderful life of yours. And we're kind of using that analogy of a marriage, a union between these kind of things, the ego and true self, and what it gives birth to is going to be that empress life. It's going to give birth to the Wheel of Fortune, or give birth to the universe, or whatever card, may or may not appear. Whoops, sorry, Dwight. May or may not appear in the mystery card. But this is the energy that, right now life may seem like this is a dark, barren, sterile landscape. There's no life here. There's no verdant energy. It's just dry. It's a dry forest. There's nothing here, And so the ego might be saying, like, why did you lead me here? This is nothing but dry sticks, twigs, and thorns, and this isn't, what? Why are we here, Spirit? Sometimes the ego's not going to really understand until everything starts blossoming, until the magician waves the magic wand, and suddenly all the verdant energy returns, and this card transforms, blossoms, the trees get their leaves, the squirrels come out, and we have the empress life. We have the best life, and so it's kind of pulling the rabbit out of the hat. The ego says, this is just a dumb hat. I don't care. Why? I'm not going to wear this hat. And the magician waves the magic wand, and then you pull that thing out of the hat, right? I don't know if it's a rabbit or whatever. The magic is performed, but at first there's disbelief. Well, this is the card that can. There's potential under the surface here that we can bring out. It's like a plot of land, and the farmer's thinking, yeah, this is the spot. But the little boy, the farmer's son or daughter or whatever, is saying, there's nothing here. This is dirt. What are we doing? This is nonsense. And the farmer is just saying, well, just be patient. Right? And then the farmer does the magic, and then suddenly there's crops, there's bounty, there's plenty. It's a cornucopia of, lettuce, cabbage, whatever, corn. But to the kind of immature ego, it's, I don't want to be here. There's nothing here for me. Yeah, we've got to trust in that divine energy. We've got to listen to the true self here. The lust card in the position of the obstacle. Sometimes this card is ego inflation, especially when we're coupled with a Six of Wands, because if the ego is in partnership with the divine energy and things are working and we feel his power, the ego is going to start saying, wow, look what I've done. And then the true self kind of gets ignored, and the ego starts thinking, I did this. This was me. It's like the little kid who's out there and thinking, look at this crop that I grew. Look at this abundance that I did it. It was me. And I think that can bite us in the butt. That's a little bit too much of that ego, And then also the lust card is talking about the granting of the ego some rewards, some pleasure. You got to buy yourself something nice. You got to have the good food, and you got to get the rest and drink the water. You got to have pleasure. The ego needs to partake of the luxuries of life, not forgetting, though, that it owes all of those luxuries to the true self. Okay, and then certainly not running so wild with these luxuries and these pleasures that we then just become pleasure-seeking creatures, and our driving force then becomes, well, how good can I feel? How much pleasure can I gain? And how much pain can I get rid of? Because that's kind of a shadow aspect of this card. It's an uncontrolled appetite. This is the card of control. It's the card of discipline. Yeah, disciplining the ego and letting the ego. Yes, believe that it's a very necessary part of the process. It's absolutely required. Nothing can be accomplished in this world without some sort of ego, without some sort of personality. The thing is, we want to grow and strengthen that personality into a kind of magical magician personality, one that is in alignment with the higher self. Okay, not an ego that's just kind of thinks it's the boss. And of course, our magician is the one that can, it is that magical personality of ours. This is the persona, in a way. It is the personality that feels as a clear channel, a pure conduit for that divine energy, and we can transmit the divine light, and whatever that means, is the best version of ourselves, right? That we've done the work to clear away blockages within us. The magician is one who has worked on karma, worked on these psychological issues, worked on all those buttons that we all have, all those knots of karma, all those sore spots, those weak spots, all the blockages within us. We're working on them. We're never going to be a perfect magician. We strive for that, okay? But that's not usually something that's attained in one lifetime, okay? It is possible to achieve a kind of perfect magicianhood, but it usually takes a while, right? Maybe this isn't your first go-around, so maybe you'll be achieving the perfection here. And it really is when there is no obstruction inside of us, okay, in our sort of psychic physiology, right? In our chakras, our meridians, in the nerve currents, right, of our sort of psychic anatomy. Nothing is blocking us from transmitting that light purely and truly and honestly 100%, where there's no loss. You know, any kind of a wire, you put electricity through the wire, it's going to lose a little bit. You can insulate the wire the best you can. It's going to lose a little bit of current. It's going to lose a little bit of power. Nothing is ever a 1-to-1 ratio in any kind of a system of anything. You're going to get out a little bit less than what you put in. There's always some kind of loss. I don't know if that's entropy or whatever it is. I'm not so much a scientist, but anyone who might know what I'm talking about, you can leave some comments there to sort of educate me a little bit. But I feel like in any system, whatever you put in, there's going to be a little bit of loss. No matter how well we insulate the wires, there's going to be some kind of interference, some kind of a blockage. You can have the purest platinum or silver or whatever going through the wire, but there's still, you can't get that 100%. You know, we could be 99.9% pure transmission. There's still going to be a little bit of something, right? Just like you can never get your car completely clean. There's always going to be a little something somewhere. No matter how many times you sort of wipe the fingerprints off your phone, as soon as you look at it, there's like a little piece of dust or there's another little smudge. It's never going to be perfect. That's the point. But we get so good at it that it might as well be, for all intents and purposes, it's a pretty clear, perfect channel that we are transmitting that divine energy. And I feel like this is allowing you to live that purpose. You have to know what your will is. I feel like you know that. I feel like you have that inspiration, that you know what you want to do with your life. And there's just a matter now of doing it. The magician just has to go out there and do the magic. This is all the preparation for the show. And the magician gets, 45 minutes on stage, or maybe it's a musician, maybe it's a conductor, right? Conductor of electricity, but conductor of the orchestra as well. Your performance is going to be like 45 minutes, right? It took years of practice, years of rehearsal. It took thousands of people, thousands of hours and miles of wires, right? To produce that 45-minute set. Up on stage playing your music. And people in the audience, they see it. Wow, that was a great 45 minutes. Well, it was years of your life that led up to that 45 minutes of that performance, So I feel like this is all kind of underneath the surface. This is all kind of internal energy. And this is now you get to go out and perform this magic of yours. Do the thing that you're meant to do. Let's look at the mystery card. Empress, or another magician, or the Hierophant, or an ace, maybe. If you have, or maybe some water energy. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. Oh, another 10 of Cups. Another 10 of Cups. A continued feeling of satisfaction. This is you living a life with meaning and purpose. We're not striving. We're not just chasing happiness or pleasure. We're feeling happy, but it's because we have a purpose. It's because we have a contentment. It's not just arbitrary, fleeting happiness. It's real satisfaction, right? It is real fulfillment. Yeah. And this is really in an ego sense, like the ego feels like, I got a reason for being here, and it feels so good to be part of this purpose and to be part of the team and to be doing and like getting the rewards too, but it just feels so good to have some. A lot of the time our problem in life is that our ego just doesn't feel a sense of belonging, doesn't have a partnership, doesn't have a purpose, doesn't really know what to do. Maybe has a little pleasure, has a little pain, gets involved in some things, but without this alignment with the higher self, the ego is going to continue to feel sort of aimless. Yeah. This is real contentment. I love this reading for you. We're going to do an extended reading as well. Okay, we'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There is a link up top and there's a link down below. New readings for Libra Wednesdays and Saturdays at 6 a.m. Chicago time. Be sure to watch both readings. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. These readings are totally free. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.